All right. Hey, hope everyone can hear me. I don't know yet because YouTube hasn't caught up. Okay, there it is. YouTube is now caught up. Congratulations. So much for trying to be, proper countdown. Anyway, yeah, impromptu stream today because it is currently 7 in the morning. And by that I mean it's 7 a.m. at night for me. Because it has been an emotional morning for me and no one's awake. So I'm going to vent to you guys because this is something I really want to talk about because it's something that's close to me. And hey, we've already done Warcraft on the channel before. So why the hell not? As you can see, our topic for today is CHROMIE, the dragon girl from World of Warcraft. Now, for those of you who are probably not familiar with World of Warcraft, because I know it hasn't really been popular in years, from back in the day, CHROMIE is a dragon character, and dragons in Warcraft have the ability to shapeshift into mortal forms, and CHROMIE is a gnome, or basically a halfling, basically a hobbit, basically. It's hard to say how the stuff from Tolkien transfers over because it had to translate into Tolkien to Warhammer to Warcraft, and it's a complicated thing. Point is, this character is really important to me. And she belongs to us now, so fuck you. Fuck all you cis bitches. No, just kidding. Anyone can love CHROMIE, it's fine. So, I just found this out. This is a little bit old at this point, sort of. Again, this particular story is only a couple hours old, but this is something that has been slowly leaking through the internet the past 3 days, because I don't play Warcraft anymore. I haven't even bought an expansion in like 2 or 3 expansions. So like I don't follow Warcraft news, so it took a while to reach me. But this is news now this weekend. There were rumors going back to Wednesday, apparently. But CHROMIE, our little favorite dragon girl, is trans now. Which is super important because CHROMIE is not like a representation character. She's not like a side character. She's not a throwaway character. CHROMIE is actually really important to the Warcraft brand. You know what? Let's start with that, actually. I'm going to find... If I had planned this better, this, like I said, this is an impromptu stream. So, you know, fuck it. All right, I have to change screens. And unfortunately, changing screens in StreamYard is a pain in the ass. So you kind of have to plan it in advance. Share audio, yes. Okay. Yeah, there we go. So this is from November 3rd, 2017. This is the World of Warcraft Classic announcement, which, you know, we'll skip ahead here.
Someone once said that you can't go home again, but they lacked vision. And a temporal discombobulator.
So this is the trailer for World of Warcraft Classic, where they're just rewinding time because Chromie is a bronze dragon. She's a time dragon, but like she's a very important part of the Warcraft brand. They pull her out whenever they basically need to fuck with time, whenever they need to mess with time, as Albert Einstein would say. So let's go back to the article. So like this isn't like a minor character necessarily. Like she's not a story lead. Like there aren't any like expansions about her, although there are patches about her and a one person dungeon. It's basically a one person dungeon. They call them scenarios in WoW, but it's a dungeon. It's a one person dungeon, and it's all hers. Like there is a like there's definitely stuff in the brand. Why did I do that? Remove from stream. Stop screen. There we go. Okay. Now I can do it. Visage. There we go. So, Chromie is trans. This is official, actually. As of a few days ago, it was very unclear if Chromie was simply like gender non-conforming or non-binary, but no, like it's now confirmed by the author that Chromie is trans. Chromie specifically moves from using one set of pronouns to a different set of pronouns, so she is trans. So here's some history on Chromie. Naming conventions in World of Warcraft for dragons are pretty strict. And by strict, we mean very unimaginative and basic, so that you can basically communicate to the player what a character is without even having to know who that character is. So I should turn off that banner. In the case of red dragons, names for women end in straza, and names for men end in straz. In the case of blue dragons, it's male dragons tend to end in gos or kos, and female dragons tend to be gosa. Bronze dragons, men tend to be named in names that end in ormu, and women tend to be named in names that end in ormi. So this is why this is important, because in 2008, during the Wrath of the Lich King expansion, Chromie was finally seen in her dragon form. She had been in the game since the very first day, but the first time anyone had seen her dragon form was in Wrath of the Lich King, which was considered by many people to be the most solid expansion in the Warcraft universe. And Chromie transformed from her dragon form, which is named Cronor Mu. So there was a gender disparity. And for about a year, the queer community kind of adopted Chromie, especially the trans community. And then at the next BlizzCon, or maybe the BlizzCon after that, who knows? I can't remember precisely. I know it was about a year later. Blizzard really backed down on that. They stumbled into queer representation, and they got gay panic. They were really grossed out by the idea. Like, again, this was the same time, around the same time. I think it was the year before. One of the story panels, one of the writers said that he didn't want to ruin characters by making them gay, right? Like, this is the climate of Blizzard at the time. But now, they are smart enough that they realized that they were sitting on fucking gold, and it's a little too late to save the game, but hey, Chromie's trans. So let's read this article. This is about a short story called Visage Day. Narrative lead Steve Dancer, I don't know, has clarified that Chromie uses she/her pronouns in all forms. Players have speculated for many years that Chromie is trans, as she takes the form of a female gnome, but the suffix ormu is her formal name. Chronormu is traditionally associated with male dragons. With some fans receiving early copies of Folk and Fairy Tales of Azeroth several weeks early, players were quick to circulate images of Chromie's short story, in which the author uses he/him pronouns at the start for Chromie, but switches to she/her pronouns after the coming-of-age ceremony. And here's a little excerpt where she's trying to explain it to another character, Calic Ghost, in the tale. I believe I understand why you chose to take form of a gnome, but if I may ask, why did you choose to become female as well? Chromie smiled. It suits me, she said, and shared with Calic a long, happy hug, which is just nice. It's very cute. And with that, here's another quote. And with that, the glorious day unfolding, glorious evening. There was a clear effort to signify the change by starting the story with one pronoun and end with another. It was unclear if Chromie was a trans woman, using she, her in all forms, or genderqueer, swapping pronouns between dragon and mortal forms. Lead narrative designer answered with this question on Twitter today, so yesterday, stating Chromie uses she, her in both mortal and dragon forms. There's still the question of Chromie keeping her original name with a masculine naming structure instead of changing it to end with the Ormi suffix, like many other female bronze dragons, although it's perhaps not as gendered as we assume, and ultimately her name is her personal preference. In-game, she's commonly called by her nickname Chromie anyway, a casual-sounding name for unusual for dragons, but she is also sometimes referred to as Chronormu in conversation. Naming conventions aside, it is pretty clear that Chromie is a trans woman. And yeah, it's lovely. And I wanted to have a conversation with you guys about why I need to do screen swap, so this will take a little time. It's important to discuss why representation matters. And not here. We don't need that. We don't need that. We don't need fucking anything. Chromie. Come on. There we go. Chromie art for no real reason. Now mine's here. Anyway, I wrote this thread. Let me do the thread first. So this is a true story. Because there are a lot of abstracts we can get into about the psychology and the social effect of representation in games and other media like movies. But ultimately, sometimes you need an anecdote. I'll try not to get too emotional because this hits really hard for me. Story. While kid me always felt I'd have preferred to be a girl, it wasn't until 2008 I decided I needed to transition or it would kill me. Less than 4 months later, Wrath dropped, and the Chronormu bug became a thing. And as a female gnome player, which is true, my main character in Wrath of the Lich King was a female gnome mage. And then a female gnome death knight. Anyway. I love gnomes. I can't help it. My girlfriend at the time hated that I played gnomes. But, she very slowly came around to tolerating them. She still hated dwarves, though. I guess they were too stubby for her. I don't know. Anyway, as a female gnome player, I imprinted on CHROMIE hard. And it's very hard to express how fortuitous that timing seemed to how old was I? I was 21, 22, something like that. It seemed really fortuitous, right? The timing was just so perfect, right? Like, I ran... everyone hated the fucking Caverns of Time Strathholm dungeon, right? Because it was so annoying and so slow and so so scripted, right? Like, there was a minimum amount of time you needed to complete the dungeon just to get through all the cutscenes, and eventually they had to patch in a bunch of dialogue options where you could literally skip the nonsense. You could skip the dialogue, skip the talking, skip the stories. Like, they had to patch that all in because people hated it, but it was my favorite one. Because CHROMIE showed up at the end. When Blizzard Entertainment backpedaled on it about a year later, I never forgave them. I still play the game, but my sub, for the first time since 2004, started to lapse, and I began taking long breaks. And I could never love the game in the same way again. Which is true. I have played since... I didn't play since launch, but I did play since Christmas of 2004. That was when I got the game. And like I say here, I'm not like Dan Olson. All right, I haven't kept my subscription running just in case I want to go back, because when I take breaks, I take breaks. I don't want to go back to the game, which I didn't do before this. I didn't do that before they really, really backpedaled hard on the CHROMIE thing. Because I'd been critical of stuff in the game before. It's really when I got vitriol in my criticism of the game. Like, if you go watch my Sylvanas video, you know that, like, I don't respect Blizzard as a company, as a writing staff, as a game development team. Like, I don't respect them. They put out good products sometimes, not always. But that was when I started having vitriol. And I don't even know if I noticed at the time, just because so many other people started getting vitriolic around the same time, right? Like, because Cataclysm has the largest drop-off of subscribers in Warcraft history. Or at least it did, until they stopped sharing numbers because Warlords of Draenor came out and it fucking ruined everything. But I used to criticize things in the story. Like, I didn't like how they did your boy Arthas dirty in the Wrath of the Lich King expansion. Like, I didn't even realize how much I actually did like Arthas until like they screwed him up so badly, and then I was like, wow, this offends me as a storyteller sort of way. But it wasn't like mean-spirited, right? I was more just disappointed in how they chose to handle some of the story beats or some of the world building or whatever. I've never really cared about how the mechanics of a gameplay. That's why I still play World of Warcraft Classic from time to time. But after the backpedaling, I never gave them the benefit of the doubt again. I don't think. Broadly speaking, I gave individual teams some benefit of the doubt, especially Christy Golden when she was trying to make sense of the nonsense that was coming out of the game. But like, as far as the product itself, I never gave it the benefit of the doubt again. I've been so overjoyed that they backpedaled on the backpedaling, but I've also been crying a lot. I don't think I fully understood how much it hurt me and how much respect for the company I really lost back then. I recently passed my 1-year HRT anniversary, and fate willing, I can finally make the jump to full-time this year, and my legal name change is coming through. Even after 13 years, CHROMIE is holding my hand on this trip. It feels like only yesterday. I'm sure she gets that a lot. It is hard to express when I finally decided I had to be trans, or at least I had to transition. That period where I was slowly coming out to friends and acquaintances and trying to do it online, like socialize online as a girl, right? And a lot of my old friends kind of abandoned me, right? That our trans queen came round and sorry. And that came round, and it made me so happy that there was a place in my life that was still safe, that belonged to me, that there was this thing that I didn't even have to lose. I was able to appreciate it more, right? Because this little thing was in the game. It appeared to be embracing me at a time when everyone else was pushing me away. Because it was 2008. Like, some people probably don't appreciate how much things have changed since then. But it's true, and it's so silly. But it stood out to me because everything else was so difficult to hold on to, and it was so difficult to keep my friends around while I tried to solve this thing. And it felt like there was this one thing that wasn't recoiling, it was actually rising up to meet me. And when Blizzard took that away from me, like, they can't really, like, okay, death of the author and everything, right? Like, Blizzard can't take what CHROMIE makes me feel away from me, but they can wound your validation on how you feel about something, right? When the author or creator or the author in Death of the Author, the primary word of God, they can really harm that. And I'm sure people who loved Harry Potter when they were kids, when they felt that they were outcasts and they read outcast characters in the Harry Potter series. I was too old for Harry Potter, so I never got into it. But I mean, I read a couple of the books, but like, I didn't care. It was just another book. I used to read lots of them, right? Like, whatever. Anyway, I'm sure that people who got really attached to that, only to find out that J.K. Rowling is kind of a bigot and really hates people who don't conform. And now that they see that, I'm sure they feel very similar to how I feel about this. And I don't know how I can possibly explain how important it is for people who don't have that representation to get it. And I sorry. I am really overwhelmed with emotions talking about this because there's so much to process. Like, I'm so happy that it happened. I feel vindicated, redeemed. That my interpretation ends up, in the end, being the correct one. After years and years of just writing on this, like, I've written like posts and articles and stuff about this very thing, about how Blizzard fumbled into queer representation, and instead of embracing like this happy accident, they doubled down and backed away. That's always been a sign of a inwardly faced and failing outreach strategy. But I mean, that was Kata too, when Warcraft definitely became more inwardly facing. So I just thought we'd go through a few of these because, we're all happy. We love and support CHROMIE in this house. I hope CHROMIE is having a good day. She deserves it. Yes, she does. I played Warcraft for years before transitioning. Changing her gender in game was one of the first things I did after my headcraft. I've always loved CHROMIE, and this just has me sobbing. Means more than I can express and put into words. Yes, I agree. I'm crying. I love CHROMIE so much. I always love this little woman. Projected really bad. I love her. Yeah. is now confirmed trans. Chromie art for reasons. Last, after 17 years of waiting, Chromie is official. The tweet that inspired the title of the stream. Thank you, Charlie Ardenweald. Lesbian Leandrin. God, you have such good names. Why can't I ever come up with a good name like that? Where are the it's just a mistake bitches now? Because Chromie ours now. Chromie is ours now. Chromie is ours. Yeah, there's just a lot of celebration, as you can see. Apparently there is another trans character in the fairy tale book, which is nice to see. Again, I don't think it's as important, though, because I don't recognize this name. Maybe they're an important player in Shadowlands. But like I said, Chromie is an established part of the brand, which is what makes it so important. I guess being unreasonably fond of Chromie is another one of those egg things I had, right? Maybe. Maybe if you love Chromie, maybe. Hail our queen, yes. People sharing beautiful Chromie art, which is lovely. Chromie dicks confirmed. They said Chromie was female once. Yeah, she still is. The revelation doesn't change this. A dragon with the ability to magically change your physical form altogether in a fantasy world with werewolves and Cthulhu and shit decides she wants to be a different gender, and suddenly you think the game's gone too far. Yeah, good sarcasm there. Luckily on Twitter, there hasn't been too much. I haven't gone to the Reddit. We could explore the Reddit, but it would probably just piss me off. People trying to rationalize it away. Of course. To be fair to this person, this is before the confirmation tweet yesterday, which was on the 14th. This is a post from the 12th. So, I mean, it was very confusing. Again, in part because of the fact that dragons and Cthulhu and werewolves and shit are in this game. So it's like, it's not as strong a message as it would be in a more grounded reality. Like in terms of the way they tried to structure the narrative in putting he, him pronouns at the start and she, her pronouns at the end. Like, if that was a story about a human who was walking around going to a bus stop and stuff, like, you could see that. But like, yeah, in this kind of story, it's not enough. You gotta give it that extra little edge. Just to make it clear, I think. Hence why Blizzard was allowed to backpedal in the first place, is because they are a game with werewolves and Cthulhu and shit, and they could just say, oh no, it's more complicated than that. Like, it's dragons don't really have that same kind of like gender conformity, other than the fact that we made all of our dragons so far gender conform with their naming conventions, and, whatever. Chromie is trans, so happy. Along with Ashara, Alexstrasza, and Sylvanas. Someone's really horny for the villains. But yes, that's another thing that makes this perfect, is most of the trans girls I know who played competitively for HOTS, that's the Blizzard MOBA. a lot of us mained Chromie for whatever reason. That's the thing that happened at various points. That's just one of those weird things. And like I told Kayla about that when we were dating, and she had no idea about Chromie's backstory, and she was like, "That's amazing," and she vowed to play Chromie forevermore. And then they canceled the game, so whatever. But um, all for trans Chromie. So happy Chromie is trans. I'm just giving people love because, like, as you can see, this is a very happy moment for the few trans Blizzard fans who still exist, or the people like me who are mostly just nostalgic for this kind of shit. Yeah. I guess that's all I wanted to say. Sorry, like I said, it's kind of just a lot to process. Because I am happy, and I'm very, like I said, I feel very vindicated. But also, it's a lot of the hurt. Just because of, like, I am probably, I don't want to say, I don't want to like claim I'm unique, but I feel like I'm pretty unique in how my timeline is seeming to match up with Chromie's timeline these days. But I I don't think I ever found a character that I've ever felt so. I've ever felt in such a real way that it could also be a part of me, right? Like, even the characters I write, sometimes I don't care about them as much as I do this one fucking character. And I don't even think about Warcraft all that often, right? Like I said, I don't play anymore. I don't go back. But like, it does feel like this character and I have been holding hands for 13 years. It's a really strange feeling. Yeah, I don't know. It's so strange. I'm glad. I'm very glad that this has happened. And congrats to some people at Blizz for still having a soul. I'm sure it's only going to be a few months before you're fired. But hey, I hope hope this keeps up. So, I don't know how to wrap this up. Like I said, this is just an impromptu stream. I don't know what to add. I mean, the reason I ever tried to be blonde is because of CHROMIE. Like, that's all I can throw out. Like, this really has been something that's like part of me, and I have to just talk about it because what do you do? What else do you do? I guess you could talk to friends, but I don't have any of those. I just have you guys who sit here and listen to my shit. So, hey. Yeah. I was going to do a stream about explaining what Greg Gutfeld was trying to joke about and walk you through it because I realized I could do that. I have the perspective to do that for a lot of people who aren't fucking crazy incel dipshits listening to talk radio 30 hours a day, but then this happened. So this became the stream. Surprise! I'll probably still do the Gutfeld thing. Trying to finish. I'm trying to record. I need to record. I've finished the script. I just have to record the video for Devil Take the Hindmost, aka Andromeda's Honest Hearts. That's the next one. Hopefully that'll be coming. It's been a weird time for me. Obviously, as my output has clearly diminished. Sorry about that. Yeah, that's all for today. Representation matters. CHROMIE is ours. CHROMIE is ours. Fuck you, Chris, because I'm sure it was your fault.